This will be the next demo out. It is Watercolor 101. I go over briefly photography equipment and its limitations, discuss my personal color palette, and then I go over 8 important techniques, including flat wash, wet on wet, graded wash, lifting, wet on dry, glazing, dry brush, and masking. Let's listen in a little bit to the actual demo of the wet on dry. Right to the edge of the color itself. And again, I'm going to give it a good soaking just so it starts to dry out evenly. And it's going to be darker than what it'll dry out to, so you have to be careful not to get too excited too quick. That's soaking into the paper pretty good. We'll give it just a minute, just until that shine works off a little bit, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, that's the color I'm going with, and I think we're ready. And I'm stopping short of my line, just giving it a chance to bleed. You can see the paper is a little bit more drier down here than it is up here. Now I want to keep cleaning my brush quite often as I'm doing this, otherwise I'll just be spreading that color around. I'm just trying to get those little feather lines out of there, just to clean up the edge just a little bit. Gotta watch not to disturb it too much. I have a total of 8 paintings started. Some of them are rather large. And this one should be one of the next ones coming out because it is over half done, but still has a ways to go. It will be called the Crick Bottom Blue Jay, and it is a 18 by 24 acrylic. And this one, the painting evolves quite a bit, and I just go over all of my changes and why I decided to make them. With acrylics, it's possible to make these types of changes. Watercolors, transparent watercolors, are much more critical. Let's watch this demo just for a few minutes. I just got done changing the angles of the vines, and then also I'm adding to the crick bottom. I use a piece of clear acetate again just to see if I like something, to try and save me some time. Since I wanted this to be more of an emphasis on a crick bottom, then I want to expand that crick bottom. Let's go on to the next painting. The next demo that will be coming out soon is a Stellers Sea Eagle portrait. It is 48 by 40 on a hard maple panel. This particular painting I would not have attempted unless I had an outstanding reference from the National Aviary in Pittsburgh. Let's listen in a little bit to some of the techniques I'll be using to try and achieve an oil painting background with acrylics. What I'm going to do here is I mixed up, this is my unbleached titanium straight. This is unbleached with a little bit of raw umber in it. And then this I mixed up more than I needed, and then dumped some of that into this, and then added more raw umber into this. This is going to pretty much be my medium value throughout here. And then this is straight raw umber, so I have no problem mixing up any more of this. I just have to make sure I have enough of these two, because it may be tough to mix up the same variations of these two. And the reason why is if I put a little bit of white in one of these and I want to darken it up, it may take a ton of darker color to get it darker than what it is. So in other words, it's not necessarily mixing half and half of each color. Some colors mix stronger than others depending on what two you're mixing. I'm going to go ahead and start these final layers, and then I want to try and keep a painterly effect. Let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm just going over how I actually paint an oil painting background simulation with acrylics. It takes many layers of glazed paints, but it is possible. I used to paint in oils, but I can't handle the fumes to my respiratory system. It was even suggested to me to use odorless thinner and that only made it worse. That is when I didn't realize how many fumes I'm actually breathing in until my lungs and chest get really heavy. Let's go on to the next painting. In this next demo coming out shortly is a 20 by 16 watercolor of a chrome engine. I have to be extremely critical with my drawing because of how many light colors are involved in this particular painting. Let's listen in for a little bit. Real light grays, real light blues. So I want to keep my graphite to a minimum, not to contaminate anything, but then also to keep my drawing as accurate as possible. So like say for example, this down here, if I want to cut back some of that, I would use the arc and just lay it down just like that. And run the eraser on it, and that'll clean that line up really nice. This one right here is pretty thick. If I even want to cut down the thickness of the line, I would put it just like that. And this will work. And that even shaved the thickness of the line down, which worked rather well with an eraser shield. In this particular demo, I will emphasize the importance of borderline perfection when it comes to parallel lines and a mechanical looking object. It could be a very nice painting, but if 2 or 3 of those fins on the engine are not parallel, that will be an eye grabber right away. I have to start out with a very accurate drawing to have a very accurate painting. Let's go on to the next demo. In this next demo, it is a northern shoveler riding the waves of Presque Bay, Erie, Pennsylvania. In this painting, I'm about to do some major rearrangements of the duck itself. But for now, I'm just going over some of the waves and planning and plotting in some of the very subtle reflections and highlights in a backlit wave from the direct diffused sun. Let's go ahead and go on to our last painting. In this final demo I have available for this work in progress update is an old set of lobster claws with a little bit of netting tangled up in them. It is on a 22 by 30 full sheet of Fabriano 300-pound cold press. It will be another extremely critical drawing before I start painting. All of these are coming up, and I even have a couple more that I did not include in this update. Again, until I see you out in the field or back at the studio, thanks for watching.